Hey everyone, you made it. It's the last week of class. We're going to spend this week talking about functional behavior assessment, really talking about the pieces that are involved in conducting a functional behavior assessment, what a functional behavior assessment is, and why it's important. You know, we've been talking a lot throughout this class about a number of interventions that can be used both at the classroom-wide or in many cases a school-wide level, as well as some more specific interventions tailored for smaller groups of students who might need some additional support. There's also a third category of students who don't necessarily respond as effectively as you would like to the classroom-wide stuff, don't respond as effectively as you'd like to the more structured, more intensive interventions that you're using with your small groups, and those students may need specific interventions that are tailored just for them. And that's really where the functional behavior assessment process comes in. A functional behavior assessment is basically really trying to ask a question that we've been asking this entire semester, which is why? Why is it that this student is engaging in the behavior that he or she is engaging in? Okay? And there are lots of different ways of going about answering that question, why, but the bottom line is unless we're able to really think critically about what somebody's getting as a result of what they're doing, it's going to be hard for us to figure out what we can do about it to help that person find a way that's more efficient, that's more effective, and that makes the problem behavior they're engaging in irrelevant because they've got other better ways to get the things that they're looking for. And this is going to be really critical in designing our interventions. Everything that we do should stem from a why, should stem from an understanding about what's going on with our individual students. Now, in many cases, depending on the district where you are, you may have a BCBA or someone else who specializes in understanding behavior that you may be calling upon in these cases where you have individual students who are having a great deal of difficulty. And it's important to know when to reach out for that assistance. It's important to recognize that there may be situations that are beyond the scope of your area of expertise, and that's okay. That's the time to seek out assistance. But along that road, you can start to really think about why someone's doing what they're doing and figure out how to respond accordingly. A big piece of functional behavior assessment as we go through it is thinking about a replacement behavior, right? Is trying to figure out why somebody's doing what they're doing, but just knowing why isn't enough. Once you know why somebody's doing what they're doing, it's about figuring out some other way for that student to get what he or she is seeking by engaging in problem behavior in a way that's more appropriate, right? If you teach that replacement, and by teaching it, you've got to reinforce it, right? You've got to make sure that someone's able to get access to what's reinforcing to them when they engage in that appropriate behavior. But if they can consistently learn that they can get reinforcement, that good things can come their way for engaging in appropriate behavior, it makes it less likely that they're going to engage in inappropriate behavior, okay? So knowing why starts to drive what you teach as a replacement, a functional equivalent. It also drives what you do from an antecedent standpoint. If you know that someone always has difficulty in one particular situation, you can start to think about, are there things that I can change about this situation ahead of time to make it less aversive? Can I chunk that work assignment? Can I embed high-interest materials? Can I make sure that I'm allowing frequent breaks? Can I ramp somebody up slowly with things that are easier before getting to the stuff that's harder? There are all these different strategies that you can do if you know why somebody's doing what they're doing. Okay, so again, points to the importance of why, which comes from a functional behavior assessment. And then finally, it lets you think about what you're going to do when the problem behavior occurs, right? Because invariably it is going to happen. And it's important that we start to think about making sure that we're responding in a way. Obviously, safety has to come first, right? You have to make sure that you're keeping everybody safe. But once safety has been assured, making sure that you're responding to someone's problem behavior in a way that doesn't result in a lot of payoff, okay? Doesn't mean that you have to be punitive, doesn't mean that at all. But it does mean that as much as you can, okay, this is what you're getting right now or what you have been getting for doing this thing that's not really working out. How can I make sure that you don't get that when that happens, okay? So, and this doesn't work on its own. It goes hand in hand with making sure you're teaching ways for the student to get the thing that he or she wants or the things that he or she is seeking, whether those things are attention from teachers or peers, whether it's escape from situations that are aversive or unpleasant, whether it's access to things, physical things or engaging in activities, or whether someone just does it because it feels good. It's got some sensory component involved in it, okay? There's lots to think about why someone's engaging in the behavior that they're engaging in. But once we can figure that out, we can really start to respond knowledgeably and really start thinking about strategies that can make a major difference for those few students who aren't responding to your classroom-wide or to your smaller group, slightly more intensive interventions. So it's a nice way to wrap up our semester. We've come from talking about what we can do for our classes as a whole, just setting up and increasing the likelihood of success, and that's going to catch the vast majority of our students. We've talked about some things that are a little bit